Bagram, America's abandoned stronghold. Donald Trump says he wants it back and warns Kabul bad things will happen if they refuse. The Taliban vow no return of foreign troops, China circles and whispers of a US reinvasion grow louder. Is Trump threatening a new war in the shadow of China's nukes? Donald Trump is warning Kabul, hand Bagram back or face bad things. On September 20th, he refused to rule out sending US troops to seize the base by force. In a post on Truth Social, he wrote,
"If Afghanistan doesn't give Bagram Air Base back to those that built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen." President DJT.
Later on September 20th, while boarding Marine One, Trump reiterated his thoughts about the Bagram Air Base and warned the Taliban.
Are you willing to rule out US boots on the ground to get Bagram back?
We won't talk about that, but we're talking now to Afghanistan, and we want it back, and we want it back soon, right away. And if they don't do it, you're going to find out what I'm going to do.
Earlier, on September 18th, Trump said that the United States had sought to regain control of the base used by American forces following the attacks of September 11, 2001. He told reporters on September 19th that he was speaking with Afghanistan about it. However, Taliban officials in Afghanistan were quick to respond to US President Donald Trump's remarks about reclaiming the Bagram Air Base. The media line reported that Zakir Jalali, a senior official at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, made it clear that Afghanistan does not accept any foreign military presence on its soil. Jalali emphasized that although Kabul is open to political and economic engagement with Washington on the basis of mutual respect and shared interests, the prospect of an American military return is entirely unacceptable. He added that Afghans have consistently rejected foreign military bases throughout history, a stance reaffirmed during the Doha peace talks and the subsequent agreement. The withdrawal of American forces in 2021 led to a takeover of US bases and the toppling of the US-backed government in Kabul by the Islamist Taliban movement. Afghan officials have expressed opposition to a revived US presence. Reuters reported that current and former US officials privately cautioned that reoccupying Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan might end up looking like a re-invasion of the country, requiring more than 10,000 troops as well as deployment of advanced air defenses. Trump, who has previously said he wants the United States to acquire territories and sites ranging from the Panama Canal to Greenland, has appeared focused on Bagram for years. The sprawling airfield was the main base for American forces in Afghanistan during the 2 decades of war that followed the September 11, 2001, attacks in New York and Washington by Al-Qaeda. The base once counted fast food restaurants like Burger King and Pizza Hut catering to US troops, as well as shops selling everything from electronics to Afghan rugs. It also hosted a massive prison complex. It is rather unlikely, but even if the Taliban accepted the US reoccupation of Bagram following negotiations, it would need to be defended from a host of threats including Islamic State and Al-Qaeda militants inside Afghanistan. It could also be vulnerable to an advanced missile threat from Iran, which attacked a major US airbase in Qatar in June after the United States struck Iranian nuclear sites. Meanwhile, the Chinese Foreign Ministry took cognizance of the Bagram Air Base issue. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian urged respect for Afghanistan's people and territory following US President Donald Trump's suggestion that Washington may re-enter the country to reclaim Bagram Air Base 4 years after its withdrawal.
China respects Afghanistan's independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. Afghanistan's future and destiny should be in the hands of the Afghan people. Exaggerating tensions and creating confrontation in the region is unpopular. We hope all parties will play a constructive role in promoting regional peace and stability.
Speaking of Chinese interest in the issue, Beijing has been making inroads into Afghanistan through investments and projects since the United States withdrew forces from the country in 2021, triggering a collapse of the Western-backed Afghan government and paving the way for the Taliban to return to power. China even became the first country to recognize the Taliban's formal envoy to Beijing in 2023. Thus, the return of American presence in Afghanistan would be a major setback for China. For nearly 20 years, the Bagram Air Base stood as the sprawling symbol of American power in Afghanistan and as the heart of the long US military intervention there. The Biden administration secretly evacuated the base on July 1, 2021, a few weeks ahead of its chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. The Afghan army, which was left in control of the base, surrendered to the Taliban. Bagram is strategically important because of its proximity to the border with China and to a nuclear testing range at Lop Nur in a remote part of Xinjiang province. The testing range was long believed abandoned, but there have been reports of increased Chinese military construction activities in the area. An American military presence at Bagram would also allow the US to conduct counter-terrorism operations in a volatile region against the Islamic State Khorasan terrorist group, which is also at war with the Taliban and has also spread its tentacles into Europe. What the Taliban wants most from the US is recognition. The country's seat at the United Nations is still held by the former government. The Taliban would also like to access $7 billion in assets frozen in the US to boost its flagging economy. Thus, Trump has leverage here. This month, the Taliban's Foreign Minister, Amir Khan Muttaqi, and Trump's Special Envoy for Hostages, Adam Boehler, said they had reached a deal on a prisoner exchange. The Wall Street Journal reported that talks about a small American contingent basing out of Bagram were in the early stages. But there's little reason to believe that the US diplomatic boycott of Afghanistan, more than 4 years after the Taliban took over, is exerting meaningful pressure that will make the government crack. Other actors are filling the void. Better for Washington to have more influence in Kabul than less. The return of a small American military contingent to Bagram would be a far cry from the commanding presence that existed before. However, it would give the US a toehold in a strategically vital region as competition with China continues.